All right. Good morning. Good morning. Anton and Rach here from our awesome planet. Good morning, Jejo.
Hi,
Good
Jojo.
morning, Anton and Rach. Good morning to all the viewers.
Yes, good morning. So if you're watching this on replay or watching this live, please join in our discussion or you can send your comments. This is a really interesting discussion because we're talking to Jejo and why he paints, his story on why he paints now. He paints food.
Tablescape.
Tablescapes and different interesting topics. And we also wanted to express our feelings through art. We don't know, and if you don't know how to start, also, then maybe we want you to be inspired with this discussion session with Jejo. All right. So please just send your comments in the Facebook stream below or in the YouTube stream below. And maybe to start off, Jejo, can you explain or share how did you get started and why you paint?
Well, as a child, I actually painted on my own at 6 years old, 7 years old. But it was always a stop and start. It was a hobby. It was something I liked to do, but I would leave it, go back to it. I went back to it grade seven, and then I stopped for a long time. And then when I was newly married, while my wife was pregnant with our second child, I went back to it. It became quite serious that time through a friend. I got into a group of professional artists. They used to call themselves the Wednesday Group or the Blumentritt Group. And that was my first really big exposure to art. I saw how artists work and how they are. I also had a very well-known artist as a neighbor, so I also learned from her a lot from their family. So that was my early exposure. And then when our third child was born, I stopped painting again altogether to concentrate on earning a living. The family was growing, and I stopped totally. Until late 2015, we were on a family vacation with my wife's family, and I bought with my daughter some art materials, basically a sketchbook and pencil. And when I started drawing again, I was just surprised because I felt that in spite of stopping for around 15 years, I felt I was even drawing better than when I was very active in it. So I was encouraged to continue it. But my initial intention was really just to have a visual journal instead of just a just a journal of words, a visual journal, because I felt that if you have the image, you remember more. It's more in your heart. And
Right,
then,
correct.
oh, yeah, and then it got more and more serious. I got into a group in our area that painted every Wednesday group. We have a wonderful mentor in Peter Sutcliffe who really guided me. I felt he gave me so much instruction that I felt more and more encouraged to be more serious. And then I immersed myself in the arts community. I got to know the best watercolor artists we have in the country and got to paint with them, got to talk to them. It just got more and more serious until 2000, 2018. I decided, I felt it was my calling already at that point in my life. So yeah, I went into it full time.
All right. So for those watching, we met actually Jejo as a farmer and now as a painter. Well, we would like to share the website. So for those who wants to check out the website, the art of Gerardo Jimenez.
That's actually the Facebook page.
Facebook page. Okay. Um,
And then
the website, yes.
that's the website, but it's
The
not
website.
net. That's right.
.net, GerardoJimenez.net. So you could, if you're interested to knowing more about his painting or learning how to paint. So today we're talking about the different your artwork, and you'll do a demo on how to actually do it. Right. So maybe can you share with us the kind of art that you do with the different paintings that you have right now? I know you're doing more food or more lifestyle. Maybe you can share.
Okay. I think a big reason why I enjoy painting is trying to depict light and shadow in painting. That's where I enjoy looking at paintings that have that, and I enjoy trying to do that in my own paintings. And several years ago, before this, I was, as you said, a farmer, and specialty we grow special produce for different restaurant customers, and I would also do the deliveries myself. Because of that, I got to know also the restaurants, the owners, and I got to visit their places, and I got fascinated with how a restaurant is. Ang ganda ng restaurant, ano? I suppose we miss restaurants very much now, but I also felt that painting the restaurants, I had that rare chance to see the restaurants before service. So it was very peaceful, very orderly. The interiors were beautiful. The tables were very nicely arranged, and also interiors are a very good way to paint light and shadow, or what you call chiaroscuro. So I one of my favorite subjects is really interiors. If you don't mind, I'll show some. Ano?
Yes, yes, please, please. Where we wanted to see.
Um, this is a tablescape. My title is Margarita's Table. This is
Okay.
actually the table of Margarita Forest, and she was very kind enough to show me
Wow.
into her home, and she prepared this for us. And I felt that the tablescape was it was like a portrait of the chef, very elegant, very elegant. Really a mastery of how to arrange things, Wala pa dyan yung pagkain, which is
Ah.
even bigger, So this is an example of an interior,
So
The other painting,
question, Jejo. So why not with the food if it's about the chef, for example? What's in it with just the
Tables.
tablescape?
well, when I felt na it was very futile to depict food dahil I mean the nice thing with food is more of the taste, and it's really impossible to capture that in a painting. Um, so sabi ko, what if I just do it? It looks more peaceful, like a still life, parang before all the activity. What if
Yes.
it's a still life? Even the restaurant scapes that I had in my first exhibit were also mostly without the food, Kasi it was like the calm before all the activity, all the hustle and bustle of guests and service people bringing the food. I just chose that, and also I felt it wasn't being done, So I wanted to do something that was a bit unique, a different take on food. At the same
Yes.
time, most people are used to the restaurants na mag yung madaming nangyayari. So I wanted to show something that was that's still calm, well ordered pa. That was my concept for the first one. But I actually also explore other topics, and if you know my I'll show you my other work.
Yes.
Jejo, si Anton mag-guess kung anong restaurant yun.
Actually, the restaurant paintings are in the website. You can see the
okay.
portfolio of the paintings kasi
Nabenta na.
ito yung mga nasa akin pa, This is a landscape of Sampaloc Lake in San Pablo City.
Mm-hmm.
So this was done in plein air, so on the spot. And that's also on the spot is a very special part of the artist experience. This is a landscape in our area. This was after the Taal eruption. I was fascinated with the trees that shed their leaves, Parang the idea I got was pag may crisis na ganyan, we discover our interconnectedness with the branches, and that's what
So-
I like here.
So Jejo, how long does it take to paint like yan? Those land?
It depends on the size of on the painting. If it's just the actual painting itself, if it's what we call a full sheet, or roughly mga 30 inches by 22 inches, which is quite a big size for paintings for watercolor. That usually takes around 5 to 7 days in my experience. The smaller ones take slightly few days. But
Okay.
if you really think of the whole process,
Mm-mm.
I've I mean, I've accumulated, let's say, just over a few years, mga 30 sketchbooks. I think to get to a painting, you have so many sketchbooks, so many
Oo.
sketches exploring a topic,
Mhm.
perfecting your craft. So it takes 5 to 7 days, but takes really years. I mean, if you consider everything.
Oo. And then the process ba is you go to the place, you draw, you sketch it out, and then you take a picture and then you paint it at home? O paano ba 'yon? You have to do it on site, all the painting?
Normally, most people nowadays, we take photos of our subject. We call
Mhm.
it representational paintings. And when we paint scenes, objects in nature around us, we take a photo and then we use the photo, bring it back to the studio. I print my photos in paper and then I use that as the basis. And then I start from that.
Ah,
Another part of painting, which I think is more difficult, but it really makes a painter grow, is what you call plein air painting, or you actually do the painting on the spot. Ano? It's more
mhm.
difficult because you have the conditions, mahangin, mainit, minsan uulan pa, may mga taong dumadaan. But it's a way for you to really immerse yourself in your subject. And you see the actual natural light. Ano? In a photo, medyo iba na yung lighting. There are things that you don't see anymore in the photo that you can see in actual.
Yes.
Kaya lang, in plein air painting, you're always in a rush because you can't take too much time. The light is changing. You don't usually have that much time especially in a public place. So mas mahirap, kaya lang it makes you grow so much.
Mas
And among
maganda.
artists, when we paint together in plein air, it's like one of our most precious experiences as artists.
Oo. Alright. So, anyway, Vichu ba 'to?
Vichu.
Vichu is saying hi.
Hi,
Uh,
Vic. Hi,
and then
Victor.
for
Remember,
those for those watching in the live stream, you can join our discussion. Just
Ask
do some comments,
questions.
ask questions. Yeah.
yeah, you
Okay.
can have a question. Yeah.
What else can you show us?
Okay. These are some of the other things I have. Ano, I wanted a visual journal, so places I visit, I use them as subjects or things that I remember from the past. For example, this is a painting of a tugboat. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
sea ano naman painting because I
Mm-hmm.
got a chance to see a tugboat and minsan hindi ko alam kung bakit ko nagugustuhan ng isang scene, ano? But I felt this one pala, I was fascinated with how a small boat can lead a much, much bigger boat. So this was a tugboat. This is another place in San Pablo, Casa San Pablo. San Pablo is a
Yes.
favorite among us. Yeah, you probably remember the place if you've been there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Oh.
Yeah, Casa San Pablo. Again, one of the places we miss. That's quarantine, we cannot travel, ano? But the owners are also dear friends of mine, so it means even more than much, much more to me also.
Yes.
They're artists also, di ba?
Yes, and well, the owners, Boots and Anna, are also
Yes.
big supporters of art. You know, they have art activities. They
Yes.
provide a lot of opportunities for artists to grow and to exhibit their works. They're very very helpful in my own career as an artist. Now
Oo.
here I visited my parents' house recently, and I saw
Okay.
the whole
Yes.
sewing machine of
Singer.
my mom. So it made me remember her. She used to use this before, so I decided to paint it. So I
Okay.
thought this is not really a regular subject, but sometimes you find the urge for all sorts of reasons.
Oo.
This one is a scene from in Florence.
Mhm.
Florence, Italy, and I just like I mean, if you go to Europe, every corner
Yeah.
can be painted, and
Oh.
I think it's going to be part of my coming show. I'll be part of a three-man show in October, and this is going to be part of that three-man show.
Okay. So, like for example, ganyan, Jejo. So that's from memory or from photograph na lang? And then,
These are mostly photographs, and then some of them I had like the sewing machine and some Palok Lake. The
Madali na
subject
lang.
was right in front of me, and
okay,
iba yung freshness pag talagang the subject is there.
is
Hindi
there
ako.
now? Mm-mm. Okay. All right. And then, so how should one start painting? Paano ba, is it, our painting skill, can it be learned or kailangan may talent ka talaga to paint?
I think it's really learned. I think talent is a function of interest. Kung if you really like something, you're going to do. I mean, it's not even an effort to you. You'd like to paint some more. Among the mediums, naman we have the general, the usual mediums. So we have oil, we have acrylic, we have pastel, we have watercolor, the major mediums. I just I just love watercolor because iba yung no. First you really paint. It's really a collaboration between you and the water itself. In a way, the water completes your painting for you. It helps you. If you learn to work with water and pigments, then they help you instead of yung nilalabanan mo siya. And also watercolors, I think if you want color, it's practically the simplest way to start kasi unang-una, 'di ba tayo nung bata tayo, practically all of us started with watercolor because the materials are easier to handle. You can start right away. It's not so dangerous. It's not toxic because it's just water soluble, so hindi delikado. And then it's pencil, paper, and then you have your paint. I can show you my regular setup, but
Oo.
I think watercolors the way you can start painting right away. Easiest to start, but I think a lot of artists also say this. It may be one of the hardest to master, because it's a transparent medium. So if you do something on the paper, it's very hard to cover it already. Hindi ka para sa ibang mediums. If you feel that something you want to change it, patungan mo lang, hindi na makikita. Watercolor, yan do that.
Oh, okay.
Hindi mo pwedeng dagdagan lang ng konting tubig.
May mga ways to correct
Sayang.
it. Pero pag kunyari gusto mong maputi yung isa, pag nalagyan mo ng pinta, it's not going to be the same as when it was unpainted. And it's also part of the charm of watercolor. Pag yung mga puti, what we call left out, instead of, you don't paint white in watercolor. Your white is the white of the paper. And to show white, you don't paint on it. Kaya parang reverse siya ng oil or pastel. You have to know already where your highlights are. So dapat nakaplano ka. Pag nagkamali ka, pag napatungan mo yon, pwede mo remedyohan ng konti, pero not the same as if kunyari puti lang siya.
Jejo, may question. Yung pinsan ko. Sabi niya, hi Jejo, Anton and Rach. Question for
Hi,
Jejo. Do you need to be in a Do you need to be in a certain mood to paint, or can you paint regardless of mood?
I think if you're doing it as a personal activity, you don't have to force yourself to paint. If you're in the mood, if something inspires you, then that may be a good time to paint it, or you can remember it. So if you're in the mood, okay. I think it changes when you're a professional artist, kasi you cannot just paint when you're in the mood. You have to will yourself into it because it became already more than a vocation. It's already your profession. So you have to produce. You have to make your paintings. So paint the way you'd want. If it's a hobby, just enjoy it. Professional painters, we have to enjoy having it as our profession.
Mm.
So, in relation to the question above, sabi niya, if you are in a bad mood and you need to finish a painting, what do you do? Drink? Hindi.
I think if thanks Pam for the question. I think if you feel like you want to, if you feel that your mood is not going to, is going to affect your painting in a negative way, maybe it would be good to pause first, wait till you're in a better mood, ano? But that being said, I think an artist lalabas actually yung mood mo sa in your what you're painting, you know.
Uh-huh.
Some people make, I mean, I think some of the masterpieces were created in moods of sometimes deep sadness, deep emotion, and that created that masterpiece. So depende sa mood. You can still create something beautiful, whatever your mood is, whether it's
Yes.
happy or sad. Or,
I think, 'di ba, minsan pwede rin naman 'pag bad mood ka, 'di ba? Parang to let your feelings out there, yung para malabas mo lang din, 'di ba? Ganyan din minsan yung way mo for an artist to put it out there. Tapos malay mo kung makita mong maganda yung kinalabasan, di okay.
Okay.
I think
May
sa
question.
I think sa ano when we try to paint a subject, ano, or we're trying to paint a subject, but I think ultimately you're painting yourself, what you feel. Ano, and
Uh,
I think that's really what an artist is. You paint what's really ano parang
How you interpret.
really raring to get out of yourself. Ano, yung parang something you feel very strongly about. I think that's really what an artist is. Ano. In fact, because I've also been in business and in art, ano, sabi ko nga in business, parang you try to produce something that other people want. Diba? And that's why they're going to buy it because it's what they
yeah.
needed or what they wanted. I think in
Okay.
art, it's a bit different. Ano? If you paint something because you hope that other people will like it, pag ganon yung orientation mo,
Ah,
then I think iba. And baka mas lalong hindi bilhin kasi hindi galing sa puso.
yes.
But if you
Oo.
really paint for yourself, both your standards and what you really feel like painting, I
Yeah.
think because you thought of it that way, even if you want to sell the painting, baka mas lalo siya mabenta.
Ayaw.
Truly,
Ah,
it's truly what the artist is.
okay. Like you, si Mary Grace, sabi niya, I haven't painted for a couple of years. You've experienced that before. So I'm hesitant to start because it needs commitment of time. How can you start again?
I think and that's what happened when I went back into it. I think just paint with, if it's something you enjoy, just paint it with whatever available time is. Ano. I also wanted to say kanina, what does it take? Ano. I think drawing is a big part of painting. The better you draw, the better you'll be able to paint. If you don't draw well or kulang pa sa practice, then the painting will also be not as good as if you already draw well. So my advice to Grace is, if you're waiting in the bank, you're waiting for your food, always have a sketchbook with you. And those little pockets of time, you can use it to. It's better than waiting. I know it's better than waiting. And it's also, you say, why do I paint? It's I've learned to appreciate what's around me more. Even the most common things, nakita mo, maganda pala siya. I'm more fascinated with it because I'm looking for things to paint and I appreciate more my surroundings. I think, Grace, if you do that with small pockets of time, you'll be surprised. Ay, madami ka na pala nagagawa. And just take it for there. You don't have to really change your life that much if you just want it to be just I think it's painting or art is such an enriching experience to the person. You don't have to be a professional to make it enriching. You know? It makes us more alive to. I think it makes us appreciate our life more. Makes us able to express what we want to express. I think it makes our life richer.
All right. Nice. All right. So maybe you can go to the next part. Will you? So what will you do next? Maybe
Okay,
you can.
I prepared something for demo. No? Normally, when you do a on the spot or a painting na kahit yung mabilisan, usually it would take around 1 to 2 hours for a fairly good painting. But I know we don't have that much time, so ginawa ko I chose a subject na not so not that complicated also. Ano. So para we can do it. And I actually started already. I did already the drawing and the initial what we call the initial wash, to do the light parts. Para we can go for there. Para we don't have to spend as much time. So I'll transfer to this area beside me. First, a note with the equipment. What do you need to paint in watercolor? This is my, what I call my guerrilla set. If I want to paint outside or on the spot, I have this case. Nandyan na yung, I have my paint box. I have my pencil. I have some brushes. I have a spray. We do this. We use this also in painting. And with this, and maybe a small sketchbook. Like this. I have the sketchbook.
Wow.
Sometimes these are studies. This is
Sino
Yan,
yan?
nag-ano ka ba ng portrait?
Oo, nagpo-portrait ka.
well, yes. Ito yung sinasabing, what do you do? What do you come up with when you're in a bad mood? Something. And then these are studies of paintings that I've actually made in bigger. So usually we do a small study. Tapos pag maganda na siya sa maliit, siguro pag pinalaki, maganda din siya. I think it's a practice done by the best artists. So I also do it myself. But this is a sketchbook I can have in my bag. Diba? So portable, wala kang gagamiting turpentine or linseed oil. Madali lang i-set up. You can be in a coffee shop. You can put this out. You can draw or even paint. So it's that portable. That's another quality of watercolor. It's very portable.
Maganda.
This is what I decided to do. If we can spotlight this.
Okay.
This is a scene from the farm that we have. I'll show it closer.
Taas ng konti.
Taas.
Okay. So hindi masyado makakita sa camera, but it's a part of the farm late in the afternoon. So yung light ganyan na siya. And yun nga, that's my fascination. Yung light, pag medyo late na, the colors are softer, yung edges are softer. So this is what I really wanted to paint. But I felt that the painting itself, if I do it just like in the photo, there won't be a focus, parang hindi masyadong maganda. So I decided to crop it. I wanted this area. I liked it na ito parang path siya. So I decided to focus on this. I cropped the photo, and then
Nice.
this is what I decided to paint. So you could see the path. That was my, nagustuhan ko. And then you have the tree to show some depth. Yung hills dun sa likod, parang malayo siya. And, this is what I decided to paint for now. I already did this is what you call a loose painting. Hindi siya masyadong, parang medyo amorphous siya. The shapes don't have to be, the leaves don't have to be exactly the way you have them in the picture. And I also believe now when it's a loose painting, it's very expressive. And then second, it brings out the qualities of watercolor. maganda yung watercolor pag loose. You concentrate on the light, and para siyang ano, you could say parang
Mhm.
impressionistic, but ano. And this is what I decided to do. No? I already have an initial sketch, hindi masyado mahalata dito. I
Uh-uh.
have an initial wash, you can see the blue of the sky,
Mhm.
nagiging warm red doon sa baba, kung saan yung araw banda. And
Mhm.
then, I already have an initial wash of the hills outside. And then
Mhm.
the yellow-green in the foreground. So, please
Mm.
resume from this. Shall we start?
Yes.
Yes.
Game.
I have nga pala I have my, this is what I have in my studio, no? It's
Mhm.
a very, it's a very, it's a very affordable palette, na plastic, but it's my favorite because you have a lot of area for washing. I have a spray. I have two containers of water. Yung isa pang wash pag madaming kulay yung brush. And then I clean it off with another bowl. These are the brushes I decided to use for this. Ano, some are detail brush, medyo maliit. Yung iba naman medyo mas malaki. Um, but you don't really need that many. You know? You can actually do this with even just this brush.
Uh-uh.
On
Yes.
brushes, there are no must. Siguro if there's a general lang, you have a flat brush, flat tip, a round brush,
Mhm.
and a detail for
Mhm.
narrow lines. Yun lang tatlo, you can already paint.
Right.
Something like this does the work. And
Tama.
you can make fine lines, you can make wide washes. Um, ito very versatile dito. It's called a pedigree brush. But again, it doesn't have to be this. Just
Mhm.
something you're comfortable with. Any brush can do. Basta may point siya and it will cover a lot of ground. So I'll start already. I want to work on usually when we do this, we work with the background. Ano?
Mhm.
And the background is, pag medyo malayo, medyo bluish siya. So you see ito yung background is medyo bluish, so hazy siya. I'd like to show that here. No? Mas mahina yung light niya, so it depicts the distance. So I'll start with that. Also, pag malayo, the edges, it's also important, ano, sa painting, it's also managing edges. Ano? Pag medyo matigas lahat na edges, hindi masyado magandang tingnan. Pag malayo, medyo mas, mas malambot na yung edges. So I wet the paper. I can also put, ano, you want the paint to go downward. So you
Mhm.
use an easel for that. Or even just a book. Lagyan mo lang ng libro sa taas.
Sorry,
And
anong klaseng paper yan, Jejo?
okay, thank you for asking that. Ano? The best paper for watercolor, which professionals use, is 100% cotton. So hindi na actually siya talagang papel. Ano? It's made of cotton. Kasi una daw, the water in the paint behaves very well. And it lasts longer. Pag paper, after ordinary paper na hindi 100% cotton, baka manilaw siya after some time. This one lasts really
So
long.
where do you buy your painting materials?
Okay, right now, in the major,
Bookstore.
can I mention places? Okay
Of
lang?
course. Of course. Yeah.
Okay, well, the major bookstores have their own art specialized merchandise shops na, no?
Mhm.
They're available there. If I mention Fully Book, um, Art Bar of National Bookstore. There's also a long time art supply store, Jovier, which I used to go even 20 years ago. There's the oil paint store. Madami na actually eh. Compared to 20 years ago, there's so much to choose from. But in general, what I would advise, if you can afford it, is especially for those who are adults na, or if you're a student, pwede din, use 100% cotton. When you ask for the paper, 100% cotton dapat siya. Acid-free, so that hindi siya maninilaw. And then my favorite thickness is what we call 300 GSM, or 300
Wow.
per
Wow.
square meter. So that's medyo thick. So you
Makapal.
can play around, you can scratch the paper without destroying it. That's my favorite thickness. For paints naman, I would also very much recommend what they call artist quality paints. Meron student grade, meron even below student grade. If you're starting, you can do the cheap ones, like how we did it before. Dati nung bata ako, guitar pa yung, ewan ko naalala niyo.
Meron ako guitar.
So may guitar, but I think as you get more and more serious, you'd want to use artist quality paint because unang-una they last longer. Pag yung
Yeah.
mga cheaper brands, I think for kids who are just starting, that's okay. But if it's a cheap brand, after some time, umiiba na yung kulay. Nagpa-flatten na, nawawala na yung brillo ng kulay. But artist quality paints keep their, they color like fast, they keep their color for a long, long time. My paintings from 20 years ago are still good now because I chose the right paints. So artist quality paint, 100% cotton, acid-free paper. I think those are the most important things.
Okay. Galing.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Nawala yung brush. Okay. So I'm mixing green and blue para medyo lalagyan ko din konting red to make it a little bit grayish kasi malayo na siya. So medyo basa pa siya. I can start. As you also go through watercolor, ang isang sa mga pinaka-importante din is how to mix your color. So it takes practice, it takes time, pero just like anything that you practice and do often, you'll get better.
Mm-mm.
One thing I also learned, went on is you have what we call warm and cool colors.
Okay. Ano naman
So,
yan?
warm is, yung cool is mas madami yung pagka-blue. Ito medyo malayo siya, so dapat yung edges niya medyo malambot. So I use a sprayer. There are different ways you can soften edges. One is a sprayer, or you can go through again some of those edges.
Pero
But
water.
medyo malayo ang tingin.
Water din yung sprayer?
Water lang. All water lang.
Okay.
And then I noticed from the photo, mas nagiging parang violet yung ilalim, So I'm mixing more violet as we go on. I like here how the grass contrasts, the yellow-green contrasts with the background na medyo mas dark. So I want to highlight that. So pag loose, you're playing with brush, Of course, it takes some practice also para controlled pa rin siya. But watercolor is it's medyo siya. You can play around with it as you go along. I want to show some of those blades of grass. So this is another brush of mine. I can do this so that I can have the contrast. So if you'll notice, I started with the white, and to show the light areas, I contrasted with the darker portion. I can use my fingernails to add texture to it. In a painting like this, you'd like to have different textures, So, pwede mong gawin ganyan, pwede mo din gawin one of my favorite artists from before is John Singer Sargent. probably my most favorite watercolor artist. Ang description niya sa watercolor is the art of managing a constant emergency. Kasi pag natuyo na, wala ka nang magagawa. So you want to control that. So you can mix the colors. You can nature is not very tidy, so pwedeng may mga dots pa yan if you want to show. Anyway, we'll show that later. In the mountains also there's some variation in the tones and the colors. I also learned in painting watercolor, it's not just the color that's important, but it's also the tone or the relative darkness or lightness of certain colors. If you have those varieties, then the painting will look more rich, more complex. You can use also if you don't want the white of the paper to be too white, you can also what we call lift using tissue paper. So it's a combination of lifting, painting again, changing the tone, sometimes changing the color. So you'll notice the edges are the far places are soft. Tapos habang malapit, medyo mas nagiging dark. So I'm going to go now more to the foreground. How much time do we have, Anton?
Yeah, let's finish it. Okay naman. Because I'm interested to see
The
really the outcome eh. Kasi ngayon parang wala pa eh.
Okay,
So, Jejo, question. Di ba may first base ka, which is the yellow? So, when you put in the watercolor, you consider that yellow base?
you
Tama ba?
consider that
Yung
Sorry.
mixing ng yellow with the what you're putting.
the yellow part, you mean?
Di ba may yellow, like itong foreground mo, yellowish yung base
Yes,
niya.
that's right. Ano siya, para siyang initial because I want to leave it as light towards the end. So inuna ko siya. One thing with watercolor is you cannot paint over a dark area with a lighter color. Hindi mo matatakpan yung una mong ginawa. Transparent medium. I'm actually using my light areas here, but I don't use the color white. The white is really the paper. It's really the paper that we're using. You mix your paint with the white of the paper. So I want to show the path here. So it's medyo loose, medyo parang naglalaro. You want to change may mga ibang edges na hard, may ibang edges na gusto mong palambutin. Sometimes you just let the watercolor flow downward and it has its own effect.
Okay lang yun.
Pwede mong gawin ganyan. Also, tinatansya mo din yung kung medyo tuyo na pa yung paint, yung tubig, para pag lagay mo ng next coat, hindi maghahalo. Or gusto ko na tuloy-tuloy ang paghalo ng mga colors. So here, some areas I want to make dry. Then the other 8 areas, I continue to paint over it kasi the colors are mixing with what's already there. This is primarily a green painting, so madami akong green. But as you go to the foreground, you become darker and darker. Another thing with painting in general, but also in watercolor, is you can create texture with wet brushes or with a dry brush. So here you'll notice for example, I'm going to dry it a bit. para you can have yung mga ganitong effect. Ano? So, dahil medyo dry brush, it creates certain textures that adds variety to your painting. So, I'm trying to do this to depict some of the grass. Yung ibang lugar, I'll wait for them to dry. I felt na kulang yung yellowish dito, so I'm going to add some more yellow there. So I just add it to the paper even while it's still wet. I feel that this is too white, so I can paint over it again. Okay lang yan dahil I can go from light to dark, but it's very hard to go from dark to light. So these are light. I want to keep them as is. So I don't paint on them. I leave them as is so that my initial wash will be preserved. Ano? You have also the variety of from dark to light, and then the variety in colors, combination of warm and cool colors. It makes the painting more interesting. Okay. Ito, this is actually a brush for oil painting. Call it a hog brush, but you can also use it to add more texture. So now I'm putting more reddish colors kasi warm din siya. Not really in the painting. As an artist, you can change the colors a bit. Ano? Para lang you have more variety.
So the red makes it darker.
It makes it warmer. No? Normally, ang impression ng a warm color is a color that has more yellow or red. But warm, it makes it look nearer also.
Okay.
Look nearer. And if you combine a warm and cool color, maganda yung interplay niya. The mixture of the color is more interesting. Kaysa sa yung kunyari, a red tapos a darker red lang yung katabi, hindi masyado yung interplay ng colors. So it's a combination of using warm and light, dry brush, and then wet on wet painting for watercolor. Sometimes you just look at the photo or your subject, and then it gives you an idea of the color, and intuitively you mix the colors to try to depict what you saw in your subject. I want to show darker. I want to show a contrast to show the darker. The lighter leaves in the foreground. So I put a background that's more bluish and darker. So parang ito, para siya mas malapit na. You can play around. You can actually, nature is not very orderly. You can even add some texture. You can also splash some paint around. It's and then as you go on, you see what works for you and what doesn't work. May mga questions ba yung viewers?
They wanted it to be finished.
Okay, so ito I want to work more on the foreground. Here in the painting, this is darker, so it shows the shadow and highlights this pathway. So I'd like to build more of the tones on the right side. So I'll mix some more of the darker. By the way, normally we don't use black, unless the subject is really truly black. We don't because black is rarely present in nature. So, for example, to make a very dark green, a very dark tone, I'm actually mixing a kind of red and a kind of green. We call them complementary colors. So when you mix complementary colors, it's either a very dark gray or a light gray. So here, you'll see na as you vary the tones of your painting, there's more depth. I want to show this pathway, so I'm going to try to define it a little bit more without it being too obvious. You want it to be loose, so They'll try to make it all. Another thing I like with watercolor is for me it's like the most poetic of ano of mediums kasi sometimes you can just suggest with a few strokes
Mhm.
and you let the viewer continue it for yourself. So parang poetry na you read between the lines. That's also what I think about watercolor.
Question. Why don't you put like a person for dimension?
Well, actually, I was going to do that in the end. You know?
Ah,
Normally, in a painting, a person makes a painting more interesting. So I was going to add it in the end. I don't have it in my photo, but
mm.
I was planning to do that.
Oo, so okay lang 'yon. Okay.
Now, yung dito sa tabi, medyo
Okay na 'yan.
parang pwede na. Then I want to work now on the tree. So the tree here is very dark, so it makes it look very near. No? So
Mm.
I'm going. You'll notice here na I'm painting over an area which is still wet. No? So there's
Mm.
as it mixes with what's around, and that's also
Mm.
part of the beauty of the medium. So I
Mm.
medyo loosely make the leaves
Mm.
and may konting dry strokes. The nice thing with this kind of brush is it can make small leaves but also big leaves.
So pero itong puno na 'to, interpretation mo na 'yan?
Ano
The tree is your interpretation na of what it is?
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to. For me, you don't really have to. I think that's also the difference between painting and let's say a camera. No? A camera shows everything that's in front of it. Ano? When you're painting something, you can change. You can change color. You can change tones. You can rearrange things. Um, it's a part of the. I don't want it to be all sharp, ano? So I'll soften some areas so that there's like a
Hmm.
parang out of focus effect.
Oo, yeah.
And yung mga ganyan na bigla parang nagpa-blot out, ano?
Mm.
Watercolor lang talaga nakakagawa niyan. So I try to vary the edges also.
Galing.
Here, I didn't plan to put this branch kasi ang gusto ko dito nakatingin yung mga tao. So ito, I'm going to make it very loose, very wet on wet para it doesn't take too much attention. I feel na itong lugar na to, it needs some more work, yung medyo mas green, so I'll work on that. Normally, we don't use green, ano? We mix the green. It's generally blue and yellow, iba-ibang blue and yellow, and then you temper it with a little of the red because
Hmm.
yung green natin in real life, medyo iba naman ang itsura.
Gano'n pala. Okay.
Okay, so here, like this one is a mixture of blue and green. If I put some red, it becomes a little bit gray. Pero okay lang because gano'n naman our world is a lot of gray. It's actually my favorite color kasi
Gray?
there are a million kinds of gray, you know. It's my favorite color.
Oo nga. 50 Shades nga, di ba sabi nila?
Ano?
50 Shades of Grey.
50 shades of gray.
Alam mo?
I want to contrast. I want to highlight the so I added more. So you can go darker. You can go darker, but you cannot. It's hard to go lighter unless you do certain things like scratching this way.
Oo.
You can scratch with the back of your brush. You can
Pwede
scratch
din.
with a coin. You can scratch with that. Ito yung mga iba-ibang pwedeng gawin. So part of the flexibility you have with this medium also. I want to show more leaves here, so gusto ko mag-dry brush dyan na green. So dapat hindi masyadong basa. I also, you see na you can have, medyo mas may texture siya.
Yes. Oo.
At the same time, I want to highlight itong pattern.
So very important talaga yung texture, no?
Yung alin?
Texture, the texture of the...
Kasi pag may variety in texture, mas interesting yung paint. Pag isa lang yung texture, parang nagiging corny. Because I added here, may mga hard edges dito, so I want to soften those. I just put wet. I just wet the edges para to soften.
Galing.
Still, mga dry brush. I still want to make this a bit darker, so
Nice.
the nice thing with landscape also is you can go a little bit different from what you see, you know? Hindi ka parehas na, let's say, a building. It has to be rectangular. Kundi, hindi mo siya building. Dito, you can change. You can, whatever works for you.
Pag tablescape, you can change also or hindi? You have to...
Well, for still life, medyo importante yung shapes ng mga paso nyo. Pag hindi siya pantay, unless sinadya mo, talagang ganun yung style, ano? Hindi magandang tingnan. Generally, for still life, you have to be very faithful. And that's why still life is also a very good exercise because it makes you more adept in getting the shapes of what you're painting. So I think in general, medyo ayos na yan, but as we said, you want to put a figure, no? And ang delikado dito is medyo basa siya. So I have to let it dry first kasi, or else when I put this, it's just going to diffuse the shape. If you want people to look at a particular part of your painting, or what you call the focal point, then usually that's where you have the brightest color, the strongest contrasts, the hardest edges, kasi doon kagad titingnan. Di ba parang sa camera, when you have something to focus, the edges are clear, the shape is clear, the object is clear, pero yung mga sa paligid, parang nakaboke, parang off. You're also trying to have that effect. Because when we're looking at something, diba, you see what you're looking at, klaro, pero yung sa paligid, peripheral vision, hindi mo na masyadong. So I have to drive a bit. Pero, yun ang gagawin ko. I also want to emphasize the importance of drawing. Dahil yung drawing, it's going to show, kulang. So, I continue to, every day, my drawing. It's part of, kumbaga, getting in shape and, kumbaga, training, you have to get better and better in drawing, and that helps. But in the end, whatever you are at that particular point and you paint it, hindi pwede sabihin, ay, nako, nagkamali ako, hindi maganda, pangit, itapon ko. I think that was your reality for that point. Yun ang nagawa mo at that point. So be happy with it. Be happy with it, appreciate it, and then every painting you do makes the next one better. Kaysa sa'yo, hindi natin gagawin dahil baka magkamali tayo, mas lalong hindi ka magkagaling. So, do something, accept, embrace what you are able to make, and then continue. And you'll see that you get better. Another thing, that has helped me is looking at other works that are really nice. I have my favorite living watercolor artists, yung mga dati pa.
Inspiration.
The nice thing now is you you don't have to go abroad to those museums to see their works. So it's so accessible in the internet now that you can see all these masterpieces. And looking at them, emulating them, uh, admiring them somehow helps to improve as an artist.
Okay, question.
Dapat tuyo ko bago natin lagay yung figure,
May question si Rich.
Hindi. Yung sinasabi mo parang focus, depende rin naman yan sa painter, di ba? Kung saan niya gusto i-draw yung first, no?
Generally, dapat may isang focus. Generally, may isang strongest focal point. Sometimes you have other areas in the painting that also draw attention. Pero dapat pinakamalakas yung gusto mong focal point. Kung walang ganon, part of the making the composition of your painting is also drawing the viewer to where you want them to look. So minsan itong mga for example, these strokes, let's say, can somehow help you lead the viewer to go towards this point. If you notice, I left the lightest part of the painting here, and then I beside the darkest part para mas mapapatingin dyan yung tao. Napatuyo pa rin natin. And then in the meantime, I can you can add color.
So Jejo, nagtuturo ka ba ng painting or what's your plan?
Well, right now I'm really concentrating on building my own work. I think if you like something, you naturally like to teach it also. So I think in the future I'd be teaching more. I actually have a workshop scheduled this Saturday. It was supposed to be March, kaya lang na-postpone dahil sa quarantine. So naging online shop, but it's still a minor part of what I do. I'd like to build my own work, my own body of work. More than that, and I think the teaching can follow in the future.
Later on.
So your push
build my own career and try to become well known. That's why I appreciate opportunities like this. I think if you're well known already, kusa ding mga tao gusto lumapit sa'yo para matuto. So I think that will come.
Okay.
So sa Thursday, tuloy yon yung online mo,
Saturday.
class.
Saturday na sa Saturday. Kaya lang that had participants who enrolled.
So close na yon. Close.
Set na siya. But maybe in the future we can also do that. Okay, so gagawin natin yung tao, that's also where drawing comes in handy. Dahil sometimes gagawa ka ng tao doon na mismo, hindi ka na makaka-sketch.
Oo nga. No?
So, gusto ko na may konting hat.
So usually ilan minutes bago ma-dry? Or makikita mo naman?
Mahirap tansyahin Depende din sa panahon. Di ba? Pag medyo mas humid o mas mainit, mas matagal. That's
Tapat
part
mo
of
na lang sa electric fan. Tapat mo na lang sa electric fan.
Kung mamadali, gusto na lang matuyo, may hair blower. So, para matuyo agad, Ako, hindi ko masyadong gusto because I like to be more, gusto ko mas nararamdaman yung paano mag-dry. Minsan, iba din yung behavior pag nag-blower. Pero, it's a legitimate way to dry your paper. So I chose red kasi pag yung red, it's a complementary color to green, So pag pinagtabi yung complementary colors, mas lumilitaw yung yung kulay.
So, bawal dyan.
So the suggestion, it doesn't have to be, mas maganda minsan kung just an impression. So may you notice pag nagkamali ako, pwede mo pang, pwede mo i-correct kagad with tissue.
Habang pa, wet pa
Habang
siya.
basa pa siya. And then, ito makakatulong na to highlight dapat patutuyuin ko pa, no? But maybe we don't have time. Dahil usually, pag nakita mo yung mga tao, may parang outline sa ulo. Pag may araw. So I can scratch the paper to show that also. So kahit paano may highlight siya. So yeah, there's a pathway. In that pathway, may tao doon. Nilagyan ko yung puno. I felt na yung puno parang medyo masyado pang light in some areas. I want to make it dark, so I'll make it darker. So kahit na ganyan, may darker areas yung leaves. So may impression ka na there are some leaves that are closer to you.
Oo, parang 3D ba?
There's some leaves na farther. Tapos dun sa mga areas na parang hindi mo na masyado ma-distinguish, it's nice if you, again, spray. Tapos, I want to do mga last na dry brush dito.
Parang layering din, no?
Layering and parang usually from light to dark. Sa mga ibang medium, usually from dark to light sila, yung highlight, lalagay sa dulo. Ang watercolor, palitan. So yeah, it was a quick thing, pero there's something.
Oo.
Saan mo lalagay yung pangalan mo?
Okay. Ilalagay ko, kadalasan dito sa ginagawa niyo ba, sa lower right hand or dito sa left hand. So dito ko siya ilalagay.
Nice. Galing.
I actually signed my name with a glass brush kasi mahirap yung signature ko sa brush. Although I'll try it now.
Glass brush?
Glass brush. Glass pen. That's how I sign I do my signature now. But I'll try it here. Medyo basa pa pero
Ba't may nagalit?
yeah. So that's the work for now.
Nice. All right. Thank you. Galing Ganda. So anong title niyan?
Once Upon a Tree.
Ano ba? Saan ako pupunta?
All right. Thank you. Galing.
But that's also part of the charm of watercolor. It's a more playful medium. Kung masyadong parang hesitant o takot magkamali, nagiging stiff ang painting. Pero if you're more relaxed, while also trying to be faithful also to your subject, but also free enough to add your own or subtract, I think it becomes a unique thing. Hindi siya basta picture lang. It's something that the painter really created that's unique. And wala ko walang tama o walang mali. Something that unang-una, it should satisfy the one
self-expression.
Galing
Kailangan maging professional to make painting worth it. It can be part of your extra time, and it will still be helpful for you.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Jejo. Any final words siguro or final advice to people na who are on the edge of doing this, or
Wants to
who wants to
start.
start? Any final thoughts?
Una, if you enjoy it, I mean, try it out. Baka sa simula, you might feel frustrated dahil you want to do more, pero ano, but it's part of the growth, ano. Just enjoy it, be happy with what you have, and then enjoy the journey. It's really a journey. I think an artist never really arrives. Ano, patuloy na pagtubo, experiment, try out new things. It's okay to make mistakes. In watercolor, may tawag nga kami parang glorious mistake eh. Minsan yung mali mo, yung hindi mo sinadya, mas maganda pa dun sa sinasadya mo. Ano? That's again
Glorious
part of
mistake.
watercolor din. Ano? It's controlling the things you can control and the things that you can control or you still don't know. Just letting it happen and seeing what will turn out. People are spending more time at home now dahil sa quarantine. There's actually more time to do things, or rather than watching TV, siguro, I think this may be more productive. Ano? Ang suggestion ko din is, the tendency of people is to paint photos that they see in magazines, etc. And maybe to start, that's nice also. But I would suggest now, as much as possible from the start, draw and paint your own. Whether it's a common thing around the house or a photo that you took yourself, because that's fully original. And pati yung, even the subject itself, ikaw talaga yung pumili. And that way also you grow more. I also suggest taking the challenge of doing an actual model. If you want to draw fruits, then get some fruits and then put them in front of you, make a setting, and then draw the fruits actually, instead of just from a photo. Because yung on the spot or plein air makes the artist really, painter really grow much faster. And you remember it. Dahil mas pinaghirapan yun. It's like painting at a higher difficulty level. And that's why you get better then. But most of all, do it because you enjoy it. Enjoy your paintings, enjoy drawing, enjoy improving, enjoy having a collection of your work in your sketchbook. Just enjoy this discovery. And I think it's very healing, especially in these times, ano, na medyo people we're a bit stressed out, we're agitated. I think it calms us and makes us appreciate what we still have around us. Kahit na medyo ang gulo ng ating mundo ngayon. Ano. I also suggest, ano, it doesn't have to be you painting. Ano. You can also, like for example, if we're spending more time in the house, might as well put more things on your walls that you'd like to see. You know? So it's also about appreciating, maybe collecting, having your own collection of paintings that you can get from people like us. That can also be part of the joy of art, the art experience. Both doing it and just experiencing and looking at it. And in social media, and the internet, Instagram, there's so much you can see every day. I always look kasi it makes me happy. It makes me grow also as an artist. So
Oo.
enjoy the journey. Drawing is important, and just doing something always makes you better.
All right. So maybe can you share where can they contact you or see your works or buy your works?
Yes. I have a website, gerardojimenez.net. It's there in the upper left-hand portion. That's the address. In Facebook, I also have a page called The Art of Gerardo Jimenez. In Instagram, my account is Gerardo B. Jimenez, and I post my works here, primarily. And then you can contact me through these channels also.
Oo.
Another thing, you mentioned the farming, kung saan ako galing, and I think more than a farmer, I considered myself a gardener more, and I think it was the beauty of the things around, the plants at lahat. It's a sense of wonder of about nature, about God's creation, about what's around us, what light shows or reveals to us. And I think that sense of wonder is something that flowed from the gardening, the farming, to the painting. And I think it enriches me. It makes me appreciate my life more. If you have problems, then it makes you also cope with them more. Ano, being thankful for what you have.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Can we have a photo? One more photo. One lang. Just look into the cam. Yan. Okay na yan. Yan. One, two.
Okay.
One more. One more. Dali.
Sure.
Dali.
Yeah.
Okay yan. Yan. Wait. One, two. Galing. Galing. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Salamat Anton and Rach. Salamat sa mga nakinig. It's nice to get together online for this.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll share your website. We'll share your artwork.
Salamat.
And
Salamat sa nakinig at saka makikinig. At saka manonood.
manonood in the replay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jejo.